Welcome back to the program. Right now, I am joined by the director, Golden Elite Schools, and he is also the National Secretary, Kenya Private Schools Association. His name is Charles Owoko. I got it right, yes? Yes. Welcome to the program. Is this your first time here?
No, I've been here before.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
I think almost maybe 8-9 months, running to 1 year.
Ah, so, but you're still a guest, though.
Yes, I am.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's begin by knowing who you are, for those who never watched you.
Okay.
So who is Charles Owoko?
Thank you, Edward. My name is Charles Uchomi. Uchomi is my father. I think you have had a lot of time getting it right. Owoko is my surname. Uchomi is my father. But whichever way, it's okay for me. I want to say I'm a businessman currently, and the kind of business I do is management of schools. Initially, I trained as an engineer, but I diversified to get to education for various reasons. One, I come from Nyanza province, and there is a time in the country of Kenya when you see our education became so competitive, and I was pricked because Nyanza used to do very well in education. But a time came when the results came, we were almost coming third last. And I realized that as a person, I needed to do something, because I looked around the landscape of Kenya and I noticed that private education was being introduced in various parts of the country, and it was helping to strengthen those regions. So I decided to venture into education purposely to make a difference to the community where I come from, the larger Nyanza, and as a Kenyan. First, to create jobs, because I realized then jobs were very scarce.
This was how many years ago?
That was in the year 2000.
That's 18 years. 18
years now. Or around October, that's when the idea came, and it became so heavy, because I was doing construction as a business, having studied engineering, and it was not many people want to work in construction sites, so it was hard to employ people who have gone to school, and there were quite a number of them. Then I just bought a place where I wanted to put up my home, and I said, if I use this to myself, I will have to feed so many people. Why don't I use it as a business venture to also help create jobs and be able to share this facility with people? Those were the deciding moments in my life that led me to start the school. I always say I got there by default, because I could as well have done real estate, where I'm an expert. But I want to say I don't regret that decision, because as time went by, I realized the impact I've created, because then when we began, it was a small thing, 3, 4, 5 employees, and now there are 100 employees. We have a number of schools. We have 4 schools, 3 standing schools, primary school, 2 in Kisumu, already doing KCP for the last quite a number of years, and 1 we have started in Siaya, and an ECD center that is fully equipped.
All right.
And at the moment as I speak, we have also got a college that we are on the process of registration. You know, registering an institution is not a day's thing.
All right. And I know that this is a journey that has taken a very long time. We live in a time where education is the core of everything that we do. And just a few weeks ago, the KCPE started, and now we have students going to Form 1. The exam, the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations has also been going on. The marking began. There is always that question for a parent: should I take my child to a public school or to a private school? I know you might have some bias towards this, but which one is the obvious choice for an average Kenyan parent?
I didn't go to a private school when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a public school, and I'm not going to have any bias. I'm going to put it as it should be.
Yes.
Over the years, even then, when I went to that time I went to a public school, there were those of us that went to private schools, or called them church schools, that were called boarding schools. I think I come from Alego, for your information. So one closest such a school was near. And I remember the pupils, or the children who went to those schools, all went almost up to the university. Going to a private school is, I think, a choice a parent makes, not because he's wealthy or is poor. I've been in this sector for 18 years, and I've seen some of the poorest Kenyans bring children, and I encourage them, because when we started, even the so-called Ngwari people who border,
for those who do not
those
understand.
who understood what they wanted, brought their children and encouraged them to pay weekly. And many of the people, if you know Kisumu Kondele, made Golden Elite their choice school, and I encouraged them to pay, and some of their children are now well placed in society. So it's not, private education is not for the rich. Private education is in different categories. Even when you go here in Nairobi, in Gomongo, there are private schools. And if you go to come here, where we are, there are also private schools. So the choice is for you, what fits your pocket. Let me say this. People believe the government should do everything. It's not true. The government should set up an enabling environment for the citizens to be able to build their economy. That is what has built the other big economies in the world. So taking a child to a private school is a choice a parent can make to improve that child. Not that government facilities are bad, but you realize it's not only a private school. What about health facilities? If you are sick today, I'm sure you'll not care where you go to, but you want to go to a private hospital.
Okay. There are so many partnerships that are currently ongoing, and we know that there has been legislation put in place to encourage the public-private partnerships. So what sort of engagement do the government enter in with the private schools? You are the National Secretary for the Kenya Private School Association. From that office, how do you engage with the government?
I want to say for the last now 4 years, we have had very cordial relationship with the government in matters public-private partnership. We have teamed up in training, which was easy. We have been talking with the government with the hope that they empower the Kenyan entrepreneurs to come up with premier schools. If you look around, you find there are international players coming strongly in Kenya. And they are not just coming from a point without facts. They have done research and found that there is need for the middle class in Kenya wanting quality education. Kenyans are ready to pay for education. And that's why you see a high turnover of foreign investors in education coming to invest in Kenya. They are not coming to invest in Kenya to help Kenyans. They are using education as a tool of making money as a business. So if the government would empower Kenyans, not to give them free money, set up a fund to help the Kenyans set up premier schools, particularly in high school, and that make it as a partnership so that they pay back that money. And this we have been discussing with them, and I think we are at an advanced stage. You see, that involves across section of various ministries, not only the Ministry of Education.
Yes.
It involves planning, it involves the Treasury, it involves Ministry of Education. So there are a few bottlenecks, but we believe this is going to come to pass, such that the government will have public-private partnership in education with Kenyans so that we can better our schools to reduce the pressure the government is having, particularly in high school. And you have seen universities coming up, and I think for the first time last year, even the university were lacking students. Why? Because we now have private universities that are also offering quality education.
It's not about the cutoff points and the fact that some reforms which have been brought into the education sector are creating an environment where it's very hard to get A's.
I think that is debatable, but I want to give the government, particularly of Uhuru Kenyatta and the many cabinet secretaries has put in place, a good credit for bringing sanity into education by eradicating cheating. Nobody wants somebody that is half-baked, somebody that cannot defend what he has. So the government came in strongly. I'm not saying they made mistakes, but probably in the course of implementation, there could have been a few mistakes here and there. We learn as we move. But what I can tell you for sure, of course, I've not consulted this with the government, is that they had to take a bold decision to eradicate cheating.
Yes.
It had to come with consequences. And I want to believe some of the casualties was as a result of education was going out to the dogs. But as you look at things the last 3 years, there is sobriety. Let me tell you, for the first time in the history of this country, we had KCP done very fast, marked very fast, efficiently done.
No monkey business.
No monkey business, no cheating. Everybody's happy. What happened? Why was it taking so long? It therefore means the government is boldly taking steps to ensure efficiency in our country. And I think we are on the right direction.
Okay.
So I don't see mass failures as things get in order. Things will just be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have Form 1 selections coming up. In a couple of days or weeks, students will know which schools they're going to go to. What should we expect? Should we expect a balanced system where students from public schools and private schools are going to get that equal opportunity based on the performance?
I think the Minister, CS, Ambassador Dr. Amina,
yes,
has assured the country that there's going to be fairness. One, they have said all the people, all the students, all the pupils who sat for KCP are transiting to the next level.
Yes.
That's good news for every parent. Two, they have said that all the pupils that got 400 marks and above will get to secondary schools that are national. I don't see where there's going to be a bias. That's first recognizing merit, because to achieve 400 marks out of 500 is not an easy work. It's quite some work that a student has done, and for the government to come up and say all those students who got 400 marks and above will go to national schools, it's a plus to the government. I see merit in that. But we must also understand how the government operates, because they are the so-called marginalized. I don't know whether they are still marginal. I don't think so, because now we have a devolved system where funds are sent to all parts of this country equally, depending on their needs and how the budget committee allocates it. So I don't think there are any more marginalized area. But because of what we call past injustices to some other places, the government must find a way of anchoring those other places so that they also have their children team up with the other. So all those things play.
Okay.
So we hope this is going to be such a fair selection. I don't see why the government should do a very efficient work and spoil it at the end of the day.
Well said.
I don't think so.
Well said. We have students who performed fairly well, 453, but we also have those students who did not perform very well. What sort of advice do you give to those students, especially those that are under pressure from the parents?
You know, parents must understand that in this life, it is a race. I would call it possibly a relay. You know, when you run a relay, you start it and somebody will finish it. And life cannot start with the exams, neither can it end with the exams. We must be rational as Kenyan citizens and get to know that not all our children will be engineers, not all our children will be journalists, not all our children will be lawyers. Far from it. Some will be other things. But sleeping does not mean failure. A child, I know of a university professor who could not pass KCPE.
And now
he's a professor. But he went to those schools we used to call Harambee secondary schools.
Yes.
Passed Kenya Junior, went to Form 3 in another school, and went to Maseno, went to the university, and is now a professor. And so these children could have even slept. And as they mature up, if you are a good parent, work with your child. Work with your child. Encourage him. Let him know he can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There have been allegations that private schools coach students on how to pass exams, not really paying so much attention to the curriculum, but training these students that by, you know, when you get to the exams, then this is how you approach this. Are these allegations true?
Allegations will always be there in all the things people do.
Is there any element of truth in them?
But let's say this. Before I answer that question, there is an exam which you are going to do. You are going to read the news. Do you take time to go through your script?
You have to
go through your script. There is the teaching. And I think to pass Class 8 exam starts in ECD. A child that is well prepared in ECD will go smoothly and pass the exam. I've seen it happen. And I don't think such a child well prepared from ECD, if he's prepared in Class 8 to pass an exam, is a crime. Even somebody being taken to the operation must be prepared. I think that is a wrong notion put by people who don't want to think or think negatively. Some people are full of negative energy and they only see wrong things. I don't think anybody going to war does not do drills, does not practice how to go to war. So I believe a child going to do an exam, whether at the university, whether in high school, must prepare.
But when you
that
do all
preparation does not mean drilling.
When you do all this, it is done at the expense of something else.
What is it? Because I think after you have taken a child through the syllabus, which should be done without pressure, and the child is now ready. By the way, we are getting out of exams, so Kenyans should rest, because at the moment we don't want to talk exams so much. We're talking competency-based curriculum. We have changed. But you see, even in that one, even in life, I think Nigerians get it better than us, because they even prepare a lady for marriage. And I think when I got that story of the Nigerians, it was so funny to me that they even fatten the brides before they are taken for marriage. So a Kenyan wants a child not to be prepared for an exam. I don't understand that. I want to say every good school, whether in Kenya or abroad, and by the way, I've traveled. I've gone to some of these developed countries. I was in Britain in May this year, and in a supermarket, there's tuition going on. In Kenya, it is illegal, but I'm not saying we should start it. In Great Britain,
You mean
so
the institution in the supermarket?
Yes, there is a hall where parents take their children for tuition, and I took pictures, and because it was interesting to me. So you see, Kenyans start things, and I don't know what happens to them. And Kenyans are very hardworking, very industrious, and I think innovative.
Yes.
But they always think they are doing the wrong thing. I think this should come to an end. We should be able to be confident with ourselves,
okay,
so that when we are doing our things, we do it. We move on with it. Look at the innovations of M-Pesa, and this is a Kenyan.
Proudly Kenyan.
Yeah,
and there is always that talk about universities versus technical institutions, that so many people are nowadays preferring to have degrees at the expense of having technical skills. But according to you, between the two, which one would you prefer?
Those things all serve humanity.
But which one is more direct?
There was a bias. There was a misplanning somewhere, a misconception somewhere in the country, and I think I want to highlight it. We used to have national technical schools in this country, 8 of them, and we used to have national secondary schools. I think there were 13 or thereabout. And somewhere along the lines, there was no proper structure for exit from these technical schools to progress up to somebody becoming even a PhD professor in technical line. They ended up at the polytechnic level. And these were very bright Kenyans. And you see, when they ended up there, their counterparts that were not even better than them went straight to the university. And our systems were biased against the technical graduates.
Yes.
They did not recognize them until recently. Now, we are really struggling to take people to technical college. What happened is that because the people who went, and those 8 national technical secondary schools had so many people come out of them, very bright people, and they were neglected in the industries. I know of a colleague who had a Division 1 and ended up in a workshop in Chemelil for many years. People were disillusioned. I don't think those groups would want their children to go to technical schools. Okay. Some of them went to end up at the Kenya Technical Teachers Training College, those kind of things. And you come out, and the way they were remunerated was much lower. Okay. So these things discouraged Kenyans. And the Kenyan did not understand that you cannot move an industry without technologists. Okay. So I think the realization has come in, and I want to congratulate the current government. They have started so many technical institutes almost all over the country, but there must still be more to be done. These technical colleges must have a progression up to university, which is technical. Why don't we have, like, let's say, Kenya Polytechnic, which was turned to technical university, just offering technical degrees from people who have been to technical schools like we had. We missed it there.
I'm sure those are proposals probably which have been forwarded to the government as well. But thank you very much, Charles Owoko. And this is a conversation, of course, that is aimed at making a difference. Thank you very much. That does it for us for this segment of Engine Behind the Power. We are taking a short break. Don't go too far. Business news is coming up next.